and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you as always for being here. I appreciate you more than I can say. Today we've got some brand new Patriotic DIYs, so let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting. DIY number one. For this project, I have a wreath form from the Dollar Tree. I also have some, I wanted to say canvas. It's not canvas. It is burlap. I'm going to call it ribbon for lack of a better term, but it's probably about 4 inches wide, maybe 6. But I had the red, and then I also have a spool of that kind of natural color. It's more like a creamy off-white, I suppose. And I also have my Kirkland ribbon there on the side, but I was trying to figure out how large I wanted to make these little loops that will be quasi bows. And I thought, it's about 18 inches, but let me measure it. And you know what? It was exactly 18 inches. So I am just going to cut a whole bunch of strips of my red and my white. As much as I can get out of what I have is what I'm going to be cutting down and using. I think I ended up with 9 strips of the red, and I think it was 5 of the off-white. If I had more, I would have used more, but this was all I had in my stash. And then I grabbed a piece of wire that was left over in my stash. This is something I think I pulled off of chicken wire, so it was honestly trash for lack of a better term, but I decided to save it because I figured I might be able to use it on something, and here we go. So I am just pretty much making little loop bows, so to speak. So making it a loop, pinching it in the middle, and then tying it off with my wire. I thought about using chenille stems, but I didn't know how that would look. I don't know. It probably would have been fine to use the chenille stems, but I opted to use the wire instead. So I did that with all of my strips, and now I'm going to go to the wreath form and start applying them to the wreath form. And I'm tucking the 2 ends of the wire through the form around the 2 center wires, so to speak. And then I just twisted that around and got it nice and secure. And then I alternated that back and forth. I'm doing the same exact thing with my off-white bow. And I will continue to do that all the way around the wreath form, just alternating them. Now, because I had extra of the red, once I got to the end with the red, I went ahead and just doubled up on my red bows at either end. And like I said, if I had had more of the burlap to work with, I would have gone further around. I would have made sure that I only had a quarter of the form left, but this was the best that I could do with what I had. So I'm going to be filling the rest of it in with my blue ribbon. And I love this blue and silver. And I know, oh, right there, you probably could see it's got kind of a sparkle to it with the silver that runs through in, I'm going to call it little stars for, they're just little specks of silver running through it. And it is my take on stars for this wreath that we're putting together. I did the same thing with the blue and silver ribbon as I had done with the burlap, and now I'm just going to go ahead and attach it the same way that I did with the burlap. This is just going to be with the bows. One thing I did notice as I was applying the bows, and you're going to see me fluffing it up in a minute, instead of kind of overlapping slightly like I did with the burlap, I ended up kind of twisting them. Here you can see me kind of twisting some of them around and just making it a little fuller. So there you go. I just did that until I had the whole wreath form filled. So as you can see, I wish that I had just had maybe a quarter of that done with the blue, but I still think it came out really pretty. Here I'm just trimming off some of the excess wire. You want to leave some of it because you don't want the things to come unraveled, but I didn't want a lot of it sticking out. And now I am covering up the back with this burlap ribbon. This is also a Kirkland ribbon from Costco, but you can use whatever you have in your stash. And I just wanted to have something that was going to cover up the wires so that they weren't going to scratch whatever surface this got hung on, but then also it would be nice and neat and finished. So I'm just trying to figure out how I want to do this, and I ended up kind of folding it over itself and working my way around the wreath form that way. So I'm putting a little tiny bit of glue on the form itself to anchor the ribbon, and then I'm going to just fold the ribbon over itself and attach it like that. And that's giving me the ability to curve the ribbon around the form without it bunching funny. So if you think about it, I mean, the form is circular, right? And the ribbon isn't going to just automatically twist or curve, I should say. So this was a way for me to kind of double up the ribbon to protect from the pointy, sticky wires and finish it off, and also allow myself to get that curve as I went. But you could certainly use other things. You could use felt, whatever you have in your stash to cover this up. But I love how this looks. Let me know what you think. DIY number 2. Okay, this is going to be a much faster DIY. I've got all of these glass beads in red, white, and blue. I saved you the pain of watching me pull them all apart, not pull them apart, but separate them all out. It took me a little bit of time to do that. But I've got 2 vases here. The outer glass vase is wider, and then I've got a skinny little vase. I'm kind of stuffing some of the netting that the glass beads come into that center one to just keep it from having me accidentally drop any into that center piece, because I don't want any of the glass beads in the interior vase, only going around it. Hopefully it makes sense. But I am alternating between the red and the white glass beads right now. I had a couple of different shades of white, which is why they're kind of looking like that. But just alternating it kind of like my stripes. And then once I had my red and white stripes in the pattern that I wanted, I am going to add in my blue. I opted to use the dark blue. In hindsight, I'm kind of wishing I'd used the light blue that was sitting there. I was being very, what's the word? Not specific, literal with my colors, but it ended up being a little bit dark, and you'll see in the final picture. So you might consider using the lighter shade of blue, because I think it might give the right effect without looking too dark. But I got it all filled up right to the top, and I grabbed out some flowers, and I am going to put an arrangement in that middle vase part. I didn't have any actual blue flowers in my stash. I've used them all up, so this was the best that I could do with what I had on hand. Those little puff balls, and then the berries, and I was kind of out of frame for this whole flower arrangement, so sorry about that. But red, white, and blue flowers, let me know what you think. DIY number 3. This is also going to be a really easy but super sweet DIY. This is from the Dollar Tree. It's a little wooden star on a corrugated metal star. I've got my crimson, my Adirondack white chalk paint, and my ocean chalk paint. I've got my parchment paper here, and I grabbed out 3 baby wipes. So I am just applying the paint with baby wipes because I didn't want it to be super thick and heavy. So I've got my white that I'm applying through the middle It does not need to be perfect. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get it on the metal. So this is sped up about 2.5 times, just to kind of give you an idea. So I just want to be careful that I wasn't getting it on the metal. I am definitely going slower than what it looks like. So just take your time. And this is such an easy project, but the effect I think is really cool. So here I'm coming in with my red and I'm giving it a little bit of an ombre effect. I came down a little bit into the white and then I grabbed my baby wipe that had the white paint on it and went back over it a little bit to just kind of blend between the red and the white. And now I will do the same thing with the blue. Again, this is Ocean. And just bringing it up a little bit to meet the white, and then I will kind of wipe some of it away so it's not too heavy, and you could see I kind of smudged it in with the white chalk paint. I had gotten a little bit too much white involved there, and so I was going back and forth, but now I'm blending the white back in just until I get that. It's kind of like an ombre effect. And I think it looks super cool. And I just kept going back and forth with the different colors until I had it the way I wanted it. And that's really it. Let me know what you think of this one. Now it's time for a shout out timeout. Cute Kathy. I love all these little signs. Really, really sweet. And beautiful Jamie. So pretty. I love the colors. And Pretty Rose. Welcome. Absolutely beautiful. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, just send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. Okay, I am just borrowing a star from a project I had made a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago. I've got some foam core board. Yes. Core foam board? Foam core board. Oh my goodness. And I have my self-healing mat underneath there. Right now I am just tracing out with pencil 3 times this star. You can use whatever you have in your stash to draw the stars, but I've got 3 of them. And now I'm going to use my oh my goodness, I want to say Sharpie. That is not a Sharpie. It is my X-Acto knife. Yes, that. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the stars away from the board and get them all cut out. I found that to ensure that my points didn't get damaged, the best way for me to do this was to cut from the inner angle away and just pull it away. Hopefully that's helpful. So now I also snagged a couple of little scrap pieces and I'm going to paint them each a red, white, and a blue. But first I grabbed some skewers and I figured it'd be easiest to put the skewers in first. So just trying to make sure it's going to be lined up and straight because this is going to be used as my little stand and I want to make sure that my stars aren't crooked. So I'm kind of using one of the other skewers to help with my eye as far as making sure that I was getting it lined up nicely. And then I kind of ran the skewer down into the foam core. And I did that with all 3 of them. It only went in about an inch, maybe not even an inch, before it started feeling like it was going to create an issue for the foam core board. So I did not force it any further, and it was honestly pretty secure. So then I was able to set about getting my stars painted. Again, I did 1 red, 1 white, and 1 blue. I'm just making sure that I'm getting it all covered. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of out of frame here as well, but made sure that I was getting all of the edges. And if your edges are rough, it's okay. You can do whatever you would like to try to clean up the edges. In my case, I opted to cover them up. And so you'll see that in just a little bit. But I've got the little base that I am painting, the coordinating color, and then I'll just make sure that that gets set aside to dry. And again, did the same thing in white. And again, the same thing in blue. Once they were all dry, I was ready to get moving with them. Oh, and I think I failed to mention that I had also poked little holes. You probably saw me doing that with the skewer. Definitely recommend using the pointy part of the skewer to do that, because the flat end doesn't really do a good job of it. It ends up kind of damaging the foam core. So now you can see I've got this blingy, they are self-adhesive little, I don't even, gems, I'm going to call them. I don't know. I figured, you know what? Sparkly, 4th of July, you know, this worked for me. So you could also use some sort of a ribbon if you prefer. I had a silver cord out that I thought I might be able to use, but it wasn't quite wide enough. And these little gems were perfect. I think my subscriber Rose sent these to me, so I'm not honestly sure where they came from. Either that or I got them at the Dollar Tree and I just completely forget. But at any rate, you can find things like this at the Dollar Tree, generally speaking. But you've got a lot of different options on how you want to cover up your edges, or if you use wooden stars, that's also another option. And then you would have cleaner edges. It's just you'd need to get a little bit creative with how you were to attach it. If I were to use wood for this, I would probably use little dowels for my stand and use wood glue perhaps to attach it to the star, just at the base, at the same place. That way it would be double-sided still. Hopefully I'm making sense the way I'm describing that. But I went ahead and made sure I had that wrapped all the way around the entire edge of the star. I did the same thing for the bases, and I did it for all three. And I just kind of stretched these a little bit as I went to make sure that they lined up and were able to make it around the corners. So once I had that all done, I'm ready to put my little stand on. So I'm dropping a little hot glue in that hole that I'd made previously, getting this nice and lined up. I want to make sure that it's standing up straight, and I'm adding a little bit more hot glue. And yeah, just making sure that I'm holding it upright until it's cool enough to support itself. So once that happened, I was ready for the next one. I'm going to trim this one down. Now, you don't have to do this. You can leave them all the same exact height if that's your preference. I decided I wanted them to be varying heights. So my white one, I cut probably about 1.5 inches off of the skewer, I would have to say. And then for the blue one, I ended up cutting off about 3 inches. And I just had kind of lined them up to make sure that they were the right height that I wanted. And once I had that set, I was able to go ahead and secure that last one. And that's it. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the project, remember, give me a big thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know which one was your favorite. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.